The toad was put in the pickle jar. The toad left Rainbow Beach area. Trip to Mungindi Post by a family of 4. The jar was picked up by a boy with his dad, along with an envelope, yellow notepaper, and a written song. Their names were never mentioned in the storyline other than what their future intentions were. The jar was left intentionally by the first family, and then the second family left it too. Then the toad was taken home after the Mungindi cleaning operator stepped on the toad and decided to kill it humanely at home that night. Interest in both families going to the Mungindi Music Festival in October. Will they meet and sing a song that one of them wrote and the other partly copied? How funny if the children talk about the cane toad they all left accidentally at the post. Wanted to know where it was now. Not that funny to the children about what really happened to Red. However, a feral pest should never be made into a pet and released into the wild. Funny pastime for some Australian taxidermy industries, toads are captured and euthanized, and in various postures sold at local markets, which seem to be funny characters with little beer cans, for example, which are placed as bar accessories for many home bars across Australia. On a paper he picked out of an old envelope was a story in relation to the toad he found in a jar. It started like this. Old Red was a little old leathery cane toad from a Queensland town close to Rainbow Beach. His life was full of fun surprises, as he was quite an imaginative yet quirky fellow. Flying over the trees were the squawking cowards of the Australian outback. These black crows, who had learned to eat old carcasses off the roads, turned Old Red's stomach because he knew that they ate his fellow toads by turning them inside out. His new family consisted of Pebble, a small sandy-colored stone, and the twins, Boris and Steve, rocks he found alongside the tourist road that leads to Mungindi, 1 Ton Post. The same routes that tourists opted to take outside a small border town called Mungindi. His favorite place to hide was in between a giant native tree and a small shrub with old spindly thorns. It doubled as a lookout for young hands that would come from nowhere and grab a toad and squeeze it into the old pickle jar, along with other unfortunate creatures whose skin and limbs remained as scraps around him. A children's story was created about a toad who was found in a pickle jar, as the pet's new owner created an adventure to ease his anxiety of losing Old Red after he had him for just an hour after finding him and some papers at the old tourist attraction in New South Wales. He read some notes in a pad. Story starts as he's telling his father about the toad. I'd say this could have been Old Red's last night of capture. His last meal could have been a dinner consisting of a lizard and a bee. That night, Old Red was discarded beside the old bench, close to the Mungindi 1 Ton Post. He lay trapped in a pickle jar where the local flies buzzed around him, waiting to find a way in. They gave Old Red the willies, and he decided to never again eat bees or lizard, only those pesky flies. Scavenging dingoes came to the picnic area just before dusk to check out if any food scraps were left. The mother dingo and her pup found some chicken bones in a bush near the bin. The animals listened to familiar noises and were alerted to a noise near the park bench closest to the post. Nothing exciting ever happens, thought the young cub, at the stiff Mungindi 1 Ton icon post. To the animal's surprise, it heard a new noise that brought it closer to the pickle jar. Knocked the lid off the pickle jar to see what was screaming. As Old Red imagined what his gravestone or pillar would say, little did he realize that he would actually be named after his first owner. Toby Winters left the toad in notes, on his father's advice, as the green pickle jar's owner may come back. And if they came back in the morning, the jar was there. Then the boy could keep the toad. Pinky promise was made by both son and dad, and they left the park bench, and the pair left on their motorbike. In reality, later that day, the green pickle jar was taken home to put some fishing lures in. Same council worker found the jar while cleaning the picnic area's tables, with gurney and soap water. Eventually, he would pick up a toad, after it fell out of the jar when the middle-aged worker put it upside down and tipped the contents onto the ground and killed the toad humanely. At home, wrapped up in a freezer bag, the toad went to sleep in the freezer and died, around 9 p.m. that night. Another song was rewritten about their trip to Mungindi by Boy and his father. Maybe an indigenous one, as their descendants were from some of these parts. To enter in the Mungindi Music Festival in October and perform the song with the Diggerdo, a duo singing spiritual songs, perhaps in the New South Wales-funded Talent Quest. Here below is the copy of a song they read in the notebook that other family, Jack McGuire, had written in Veronica's old schoolbook. Add the police station, river part, rope part, or ruby part in or not. Mungindi rock song. Welcoming the true blue spirit of the Australian outback. Friendship and mateship with a mob and alike people.